tell you, there is just so much, and I'm kind of counting on you to contribute to the discussion, because I don't have all the answers to everything here, and sometimes there's something that's, there's just a trick that you've used, something that's worked for you, and we really do want to hear, everybody's ideas, not just mine, because that's limited. But anyway, it's there is, as Z said, so much coming up. With Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and New Year's. It can be a little overwhelming, and there doesn't seem to be enough time. So that's what we're going to work on. None of us celebrate all those holidays, but we all celebrate some of them. So again, like I wanted to say that I wanted to, you'll have to excuse me, but I'm checking my notes here that I don't forget stuff. We already said that I wanted you to participate, and I know that there's ideas out there that I don't know. I need help too. Anyway, basically, and this holidays I don't know like too much about. I'm waiting for Gloria, because I want a backup here on Hanukkah. I don't know a lot about Hanukkah, but I have been kind of pumping her a little. And I'll tell you, any holiday where you have to fry stuff gives me the vapors. I don't think I could manage frying stuff in my kitchen on a holiday. So, and I read about these people sometimes that fry a turkey. They have like some kind of a huge pot in the backyard and they fry it. I was like, I can't even. Oh, Gloria's coming. Good. All right. All right. So my first advice, ditch the idea of a perfect holiday. Okay. It's not going to be perfect. It's never perfect. It's like you forget where you put that gift, or you forgot to buy the gift in the first place, or the dog eats an ornament off the tree and you have to go to the emergency vet. There's always something. So it's never going to be perfect. And you just have to kind of, go with the flow. And remember that even though this is not funny, it's going to be funny in a couple of years. People will be talking about this. Remember the year that, whatever disaster happened. You just have to kind of relax a little and say, yes, it could have been perfect and it wasn't. Or you think it could have been perfect. Never can be perfect, but you think it's going to be perfect and it isn't. As long as people are together and you're having a good time, that's what's the important part of the holiday, right? Okay. So the idea, the big idea here that I want to get across is like, you have to plan. Okay. So make lists. I know it sounds boring. It's not too exciting. But if you have your lists and you can check stuff off and you can keep adding to the list as you think of things. And then what happens is that list, and I'll probably go over this a million times tonight, that list becomes the foundation for next year. At the end of the year, after the holiday's done, I used to sometimes take notes, and I would write, what happened. And it was kind of cool to go back and see like who was there and what they brought or what, we did and all that. I don't always have that much time anymore. But if you have your lists and you revise your list, depending on what happened or what you needed to do or whatever, for the following year, it might make the next year a little easier. So, I'm a little nuts about lists, especially Thanksgiving. The kids make fun of my lists because the most important thing on the Thanksgiving list, I have a shopping list. Well, I have a countdown list, like what to do 2 weeks out, 1 week out, 2 days out. And then I have a shopping list of all those things, like the canned pumpkin you need for the pie and all that, like on a list, so that it's not all necessarily picked up at one, in one grocery shopping, but things can be added on, each time. And then there's a list I have, which is one of my most powerful lists, I think, is how can you help? And I put this on every year with ideas like, like take out the garbage. wash up. It's really it's for my kids more than for, guests. You wouldn't want to do this with, like your spouse's friends from work or anything. But for family members, they can look at the list and say, oh, check if people need another drink or something, and then they can take care of that, or take the garbage out, so they can check the garbage. That doesn't have to go out now, it's not, but if it's full, yeah, that's a good thing to do, take out the garbage. So it just gives them an idea of what would be helpful to me. So that's one of my lists. But there's lists of who to buy for and suggestions of things to buy for them, and for when it comes to Christmas or Hanukkah. Gloria, you got to help me out on Hanukkah here, okay? Anyway, so this that's something that I think is kind of essential to me anyway. I hope like it's something that you can use as an idea. As you think of things, you jot them down, and then at the end of after the holiday, then you modify it. You put it someplace where you remember to find it for next year. I also would suggest trying to do something every day. Once you make a list of things that need to be done, you might want to try as hard as you can to think of something that like that you could do, like, oh, you can bring that stuff down from the attic, even if you're not going to do anything with it today. That's one step. You don't have to do it the next time when you are going to decorate or whatever. You just take care of one thing for that day, and like you're good. When it gets closer to the holiday, you might not get away with one thing a day, but to start, and like you're just chipping away at all that stuff that has to be done. Okay. Now, when it comes to any of the holidays, we tend to have traditions. We tend to do things the same way each year, and there's something for most of us that's very comforting about that. This is how we celebrate this, and this is what we do, and but sometimes it comes to the point where your traditions aren't necessarily serving you. Like, nobody really, who eats the fruitcake anyway? Do we have to have this fruitcake every year? And you might want to take a poll of the family members and see if there's anything that they think can go or should be changed or modified, rather than just plowing ahead like with the same thing and having eyes roll behind your back about that, yeah, I don't know why we have to do this thing. So that's something that you might want to consider. Okay. All right. And well, I think I already talked about, like, you don't have to do it all yourself. And that's where I have the list. One of my lists on the refrigerator is, how can you help? And the thing is, you might not think in the moment, like, but if it's on the list, then people will, refer to the list. You can always ask somebody to do something that you think of that's not on that list, but at least it kind of, spares some brain with your bandwidth, I guess I should say, for your brain. Okay. Next up is budgeting. Okay. I don't know how many of you have come to January and looked at those credit card bills and said, oh, how am I going to do this? Or how many months am I going to have to push this off and pay my minimum? It don't overextend yourself. Like if you make a budget in the beginning, it might be helpful. Like this, this is how much I'm willing to spend on food, or this is how much, and you might have to say, there might be a couple of things that you can't fit in, or you could ask somebody else to bring if they're wanting to know what to do. Limit how much you're going to spend on each person. Or go in with somebody else on a gift if there's something super that somebody wants, and you're not going to do it. So that's something that like there's so many categories we're going to deal with tonight. There's food, and there's presents, and there's wrappings, and there's it just seems endless. Cards. How much are you willing to spend on postage? Budget. Okay. Travel. Now, that doesn't affect a lot of us, but there are some of us who would be traveling someplace for the holiday. So book your flight if you're going to fly. If you're not, even if you're not going to fly, book hotels. Like if you're going to take a trip that's long enough that you're going to have to stop overnight, or maybe once or twice even, book your hotels, book the hotel in the city that you're flying to. Make sure that that's taken care of and off your brain, and that you have a place to stay when you get where you're going. And okay, cards. All right, you have to bear with me because I know that you're not likely to send Hanukkah cards, but if you send Christmas cards, you know that can be a big deal. Some of us buy our cards a year ahead. Some of us take picture cards. If you need to take a picture card, I would say find the picture, or arrange for that time that you're going to pose the whole family or whatever to take the picture, because you're going to want to get that out there and ordered. You can't write a card until they go and they're made the cards and that you get the back. So I would say you have to start kind of early on that. If you're going to send a picture card. And if you're not going to send a picture card, you might want to think about, looking, if you don't usually send them, you might want to think about looking after Christmas for your cards for next year. Now, okay, when you get these cards, another thing was, some people send, like my son sends New Year's cards, which is nice because it takes a little pressure off, because you don't have to do them until after the new year. Just make sure that they get out at the beginning of January and not like March. Because if you're wishing somebody happy new year in March, that doesn't work out too well. But that's another option, and if it takes a little pressure off you, that might work out fine. There are options for happy New Year's. And then your lists, look at that Christmas list you have. I try to keep, one of the things that I suggest is keeping track of who sent a card this year. And I know it sounds kind of Scrooge-ish, but you can always send cards to people that don't send you a card. That's fine. And if you get cards from people that you really don't care to exchange with, you do not have to send them a card. But sometimes, we just fall into this, using the same list over and over again. And there are people on that list that, maybe you didn't send us a card last 3 years. Do we really care if we send them a card? Not really. That could be a name off your list and make your life a little bit easier. I'm not saying, anybody needs a drastic purge on their lists, but, think about that. If I'm sending out 140 cards or something, which my husband and I have done, do we really need to do this? And are there any people who have, if you keep track of whether they've sent you a card, sometimes that helps in the decision making. Not if they haven't sent you a card 1 year, but if it's been a couple of years and you haven't even talked to them in that time, do you really need to send them a card? And then when you get cards, in addition to keeping track of who sent you a card, you have to think about displaying them. And some people hang them on ribbons all over the house, or they have them standing on mantles, pieces, and pianos and stuff like that. That takes up a lot of space, which I don't really feel I have for Christmas cards. And I put them in a red basket in the foyer. They're all just kind of stacked.
Me too.
Right, you too, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I kind of think that they should be out there someplace, but I'll take that day's batch of cards and put it in the front with the nicest card of that day's batch on top. And I just keep adding into the basket. I have them kind of standing up in the basket, and if somebody wanted to leaf through them, they could. But I don't want to give them a lot of real estate. I did see one when I was researching this talk. I did see one idea that kind of was clever. I don't know whether I would do it or not, since I'm happy with my basket, but it was take a Pringles can, cut out the top and the bottom. Well, the top just comes out at the bottom, and then you wind yarn around it. Like they took red yarn and wound it around, in through the middle and out, around the whole can. And then they would put a card, they would hook a card on each strand. Okay, so then the cards fanned out around this Pringle can, which is kind of clever, I thought, it would take up more real estate probably than my basket, because you'd have the cards fanning out, around the Pringles can. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting idea for anybody, and it would, be easier probably than hanging cards all over the place. But anyhow, that's just me. And if you have the room and you want to hang them on ribbons, I think that's attractive. I just don't want to give up the space for that. Okay.
Dr. Pat, we had a comment in the chat going back to budgeting. Yvonne said that she actually sets a budget for Christmas on January 1st, and then she breaks it up into 52 weeks, and she puts aside the money each week into an interest-bearing checking account. And then around this time of year, she uses a debit card associated with that account to shop with that account. So it was in the chat, so I didn't want us to miss it out.
Oh, that's terrific. That's a terrific idea. And actually, what it is like the Christmas clubs. I don't know that any bank have Christmas clubs anymore, although I know that there are people who keep an account just for that purpose as a Christmas club. But I think that's a very nice idea, that you kind of have an idea of, a goal, and you're hitting that goal every week, when it doesn't seem like it's like, rather than getting hit with these credit cards credit card bills in January. So I think so bravo, that's good. Okay. Where am I here? Okay, decluttering. You knew I'd touch on decluttering, right? Look around now at your spaces and see, with that idea, is there too much stuff in general? And if there anything that you really want to get rid of. But also when you're going, before you decorate, or even as you're decorating, is there room for all the decorations on top of all your regular decor items? Or is it going to look, like a thrift shop? So the thing is that if I have done this to some extent anyway, when you're taking decorations out to put them up, maybe take that statuette or that beer stein or whatever and put it in that box that you just took that decoration out of. So that, all that stuff will be there when you take the boxes back down out of the attic to pack everything up. But it will make the space look less cluttered, to have the Christmas decorations instead of some of the regular stuff that you have, that vase or that ashtray, or that, even a little lamp or something. It might make your life easier if you could just stash it for the holidays. And sometimes the best place to stash it is in the boxes that are going back up to the attic anyway. Or back out to the, I'm thinking of a friend of mine, to the storage unit, that it goes off-site. So let's see. Okay. Oh, the other thing too, this is a minor thing, but like whenever we're decorating, I'm thinking more of the tree, but whenever we're decorating, I plug in my glue gun, because there's always something that's like not quite, ready for prime time. And it might need if it's not ready for the trash, it might need a little glue something on there. Okay. All right. And one of the things, and I don't know, that I've ever been very good about doing, and I have done sometimes, you might want to, especially if there's something that you did this year that you haven't done before, that seems that you're really quite pleased with, take a picture of it, so that next year it makes it that much easier to, like, put this thing together, because you've taken a picture of the way how it looked, and you were very pleased with it, and do it again. So that's something that would that could work. Let me just change this. Okay. Okay. where was I? All right. Oh, gift giving. All right. Now I know Christmas and Hanukkah do share this. I mean, I don't know if people go as crazy for Hanukkah as they do for Christmas. But sometimes we can really go way overboard. And it really is good to sit down and think about your list and try to put down everybody that you get a gift for Christmas, so that you can kind of, first of all, it helps with the budgeting, that you kind of know, how far this budget has to go, what you have to cover. But also think about if you really need to do this. I have two friends from college, and we always exchanged presents. And it was like, one year, in fact, one of the women and I exchanged presents. We opened them, and we gave each other the same sweater in different colors, but it was the exact same sweater from Talbot's. Okay, same sweater. So it was like, really, we could have bought the sweater for ourselves if we really wanted to. None of us are hurting so badly that we have to have these presents, and it just seemed like another layer. So we go out to lunch instead. And sometimes it might be, so we all go out and we pair, we just split the bill 3 ways, and we have a very nice lunch out. So I think that that's something that you have to do if you're kind of getting tired of it. Maybe the person you're, giving presents to is getting tired, and if you can be diplomatic about it, you might say, you still want to do this, and they might say no, and you're off the hook, and that's one less item that you have to worry about. So, I mean, that's possible. Another thing is if you have a lot of people to buy for, and probably within one family, you might think about a theme. I just read something about this, like it was a novel idea, but one of these two friends that I would go out with, that I go to lunch now with on Christmas, actually about 50 years ago, because we've been married 50 years, and she had, at that time, she and her husband had a lot of a big family. She came from a small family, he had a big family. There were nieces and nephews and sisters and brothers, and it seemed like endless. And what she did then, and which I've seen an article now lately on, is a theme. So every year, like Oprah, you get pajamas and you get pajamas. Like Oprah used to say, you get a car and you get a car. Or it was sweaters, or it was not scarves, I don't think, but like she would think of a theme, and she did think about the individual, and so she did think about style and color and all that stuff, but it really cut down the decision making. If everybody was getting a sweater, or if everybody was getting a book or whatever, it did make things very easy, or easier, let's say. She still had to take into the individual into account, but it was a good place to begin. Has anybody ever done that, the theme business?
No, I've only done that with grandchildren.
Okay.
I mostly give money to my children. I mean, that's what I give to my children, and I do to my grandchildren. But when they were a little bit younger, besides the money, I wanted to give them something else.
Something to open, yeah.
And I once gave everybody a throw. It was a smaller blanket. I think it came, because some of them were in college. Anyway, I thought that worked out.
Yeah.
And one year I gave them, I got mugs with my picture on it when I was in class.
That's a completely selfless gift.
Right. I thought that went well with the check, but now, and I've done socks.
Yeah. Well, especially those kinds of gifts.
Always the grandchildren.
Yeah. But that's an idea too, that if you're giving, if you do usually give a check, it might be nice to get something that they can open, like.
Yes, and I've also given books.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Anybody else do the theme thing?
I've done socks too, and I did them for the grandchildren, and I just went to Amazon and I got all crazy socks, like just nutty socks. And those kinds of socks usually come in packs of 6. And they were cheap and everything. But that was the best Christmas ever. Everybody loved these crazy
I was gonna
socks.
say, yeah.
But we made a decision in my family that the adults would not exchange gifts,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. And the kids would do it. So that's like all the cousins.
Yeah.
And on Thanksgiving, when we get together, we draw names out of a hat.
Oh,
And
Chris
you
Kringle.
only buy for one cousin.
Right, yeah, that's a good
And
idea.
that makes it so much easier,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, one
because
of
they all have too much anyway.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I did with my sister and my brother who live in the area, is we buy a couple gift, like something for the house, you know, and not a big ticket item, you know, so it's that kind of cuts down too, you know, we still, and I wind up, now that the nieces and nephews are older, graduate from college, some of them, basically I give them, you know, they get like an Amazon gift card.
Yeah.
Get what you like, and nobody's ever complained about it, you know.
We did a new thing last year.
Mhm.
It's like they call it a white elephant or something.
Uh-huh.
Everybody comes with a gift, not a
Mhm.
big gift, but just some gift.
Uh-huh.
And it's wrapped. And then we all sit around in a circle and we start with I can't remember if we started with the oldest person or the youngest, but this included adults and grandchildren. So we had college age, we had little ones, you know. So everybody brings a gift. And then you pick a gift, you pick one of these gifts in the pile and you open it. And that's, everybody's eager to see what it is because nobody knows what any, you know, unless you only know what your own gift is. Then the next person does it. Now you have a choice then. You can keep, the second person can keep their gift, or they can steal the first
other
person.
person's gift, yeah.
You know, and this goes around, and I ended up with a great gift because I kept getting Starbucks gift cards,
Mhm.
which all the teenagers wanted and the college kids wanted. So anytime they'd open a gift, they'd steal, like they'd say, no, you know, I'm taking your card.
Yeah.
And but I ended up with it's like a electric, it's not, yeah, it's a battery operated, and it's like a callus remover that you can put through your feet. But I love the thing, and I never even thought of it, you know. But some of the somebody had a duck.
Mhm.
It was this carved wooden painted duck,
Like a decoy.
and it became like everybody wanted it.
Mhm.
And actually the 5-year-old stole it from his uncle. and ended up, somebody bought a small, really small, like individual waffle maker. Just makes one little waffle, not even a big waffle. And everybody wanted that. That got stolen a lot. But we had a lot of fun, and it wasn't very expensive. And then we did that as a substitute for gifts. That was, we tried it and we all decided we liked it. So
and have an activity too.
Yes, and so we'll probably do that for a couple of years till we get tired of it. But
I had done that with a women's group, you know, that somebody asked me to come to this woman, and that's what they did during the, you know, so it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, anybody else have any gift suggestions?
One year I used like I had to buy a lot of gifts for the office, and so I did Christmas ornaments from the Metropolitan Museum, and just got different color ones with different patterns for everybody.
Yeah.
And then I did that in another year after, you know, I skipped a year and then came back. And then I did for my family scarves when I was first married, but I must have overdone it because one of my sister-in-laws said enough with the scarves. But it was good while it lasted, you know.
Yeah, but that is something you can, I mean, like, because when it's your family, you can kind of tailor, you know, your choice knowing the person, I don't know that it's as easy like in an office kind of situation, but like, yeah, like I said, a sweater, or, it doesn't necessarily have to be like you went out and bought 20 of the same sweater. It's, you kind of think of the person when you buy it, but it cuts down on some of the decisions you have to make. So good. Okay. All right. So we have several theme shoppers here. So several theme gift givers.
Dr.
Okay.
Pat, Yvonne wrote in the chat. Do you want to read that out loud?
Oh, hang on. I got to get to the chat. I don't have it up. Why don't you read it? Because I don't.
Okay, so our family gift giving got so crazy that we decided to do the old Secret Santa thing. Everyone buys for all the kids, but all the adults only have to buy for one other adult, and we set a budget of $100. So that's
Okay.
another way.
All right. Yeah, yeah, I have the chat up now, so that's good. Yeah, okay. Gift giving. Oh, and one of the things I was going to suggest too was to think of, well, even though gift cards, some people do, like, not much thought goes into that, but for most of us, we're really not unhappy to get a gift card, especially to some place that we really like, shopping or something. I know there are gift cards I've never bought one or anything, but for like a Visa card or or American Express or something. But yeah, so like most people don't, I would wrap it kind of fancy if it was a gift card, but it's not something that most people would, oh, a gift card. No, like most people are very happy to get a gift card. They're usually very welcome. And the other thing I would suggest is consumable gifts. Okay. If you know that somebody really likes that, expensive chocolate, or that, what have you got there, girl?
Harry and David.
Okay.
All the fruit and what you're saying, all the cheeses and all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah. I've done that last year. I had to come up with something different this year, but I did something. I sent to my brother in Kansas. Because I knew they were going to be entertaining over the holidays. So hey, like, here's a big basket of goodies. Yeah, so consumable. I wrote down so I remember. Okay, so food gifts, craft supplies, if you've got a crafter, because crafters use up stuff. Lunch or dinner out, take the person to lunch. If that's within your budget for that person, or dinner. Or do something, plan some kind of an activity with the person. I'm going to take you to this museum and we can have lunch or something. Or you can buy tickets for the theater. I mean, again, big budget items, but buy tickets for the theater or buy passes for the museum or something along that line, so that it's an experience that they can enjoy by themselves or with somebody else. All right, and then the last thing is make a list of things you would like. I know it probably seems egotistical or whatever, but think of how much easier you might be making it for the poor people who have to buy for you. Make this list, give it to one person, and this way they can share it with, the rest of the family or whatever. But, I think that's, there may be things that, crossed your mind that, I did make a list this year. I haven't given it to my husband yet, but, like cheap things, expensive things, something for everybody, something that would make great stocking stuffers. So, that's something that you should consider, like make it, if you have some people that buy for you, make it easy for them, to find something that you like. They may come up with a great idea of something that you didn't ask for, fine, but if they're really stumped, it will help them out. Okay. And then, assemble your wrapping supplies. Well, we're going to talk about wrapping. And, I know for Christmas, it's a big deal. For Hanukkah, maybe not as much, but put all your holiday wrappings together. Okay. There are lots of things now. There are bags you can hang, like they look like garment bags, but you can put tubes of, wrapping paper in it, hang it in the closet. There are things that go under the bed. I have something that's a freestanding thing that I keep in the attic that has the Christmas stick. I'll take it out and stick it in a, you know, an odd space or something during the holidays. But keep them all together. Don't mix them up with your other, you know, like your birthday party, you know, your birthday paper and your, you know, Mother's Day paper or whatever you've got. You know, because it doesn't have to be in your way, you know, for 365 days of the year. You're only going to need it for maybe a month at the most. So I would suggest, you know, like doing that, finding something. It's worth the investment, I think, to get something to, you know, store the holiday, you know, maybe not the bows, because usually bows can be, you know, pretty much, you know, universal, but for those the wrapping paper, or, you know, ribbon that has, like, you know, reindeer on it or something, you know, you don't need that kicking around all year. So, you know, even if, whether it's going to be stashed in the, you know, back of a closet or in the attic or in the basement or whatever, have it all together. And then next year it'll be easy for you to tell, you know, do you need something else? Do you need more paper? Do you need, you know, ribbons? Do you, you know, whatever. But that's what I would do. And
Oh, Pat, the other
Yeah.
thing about wrapping paper that my kids actually started doing it. They keep a set of wrapping paper that the kids never see. It's hidden away, and they use that for the
Oh, yes.
gifts from Santa. Then there's other wrapping paper they use, you know, from
Santa
each
Claus,
other.
yes.
So especially for the very little ones.
Right, yeah.
So-
I had done that. I had done that for my kids, and we did that for the grandkids, is to, you know, this paper is from Santa.
Mhm.
And then, you know, it's not like, you know, well, you know, that we gave the presents from us came with, that has different paper than presents from Santa. Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. Thanks for mentioning that. Okay, gift bags are easy, but if you're going to use gift bags, make sure you have the tissue paper to use with them. Because you know, like, yeah, but it does, especially if things are a little awkward or they didn't come in a box or something, you know, like it's really easy to, you know, kind of like put it in the tissue paper and drop it in a bag. So that's something that, and again, I keep those because of the thing that I have for wrapping paper is enough room for not the biggest bags, but you could put bags down the side alongside the paper. So it's a good place to, you know, stash all this stuff in one place. Okay. All right. And then, oh, now, and this is hard sometimes, especially, you know, depending on the circumstances. And, you know, I don't think this crew has many young children, but for those of us, you know, in the families where there are young children, try to wrap a little at a time. And I know it's hard with kids around because you never know who might get up because they wet the bed or whatever, you know, in the middle of your wrapping session. You know, try to you know, get it a certain number of things and wrap them all together, because like hauling all the paper out and putting it all back, and you don't want to leave it around, you don't want to leave things half done. You know, I'm sure you'll need more than one wrapping session, but you know, try to cluster things so that it's not, you know, a million wrapping sessions. It's my little piece of advice there. Okay. Mailing. I don't know how much of us have a lot of mailing. I mean, those of us who send Christmas cards have to get them to the post office in some kind of a reasonable time. But, you know, for those people who are sending packages, you know, kind of plan that out. Make sure you've gotten those presents first so you can get them wrapped in, you know, and at the post office, because when it gets too close to Christmas, the post office can get a little hairy. So you might want to, you know, take that into consideration. Now we come to food. What holiday doesn't have food that you have to think about? I remember my comment about the latkes, right? The frying on a holiday. Plan your menu as soon as you can, because you need to make a shopping list from your menu about what kinds of things you're going to need, you know, to pick up at the store, so that you can make the baked goods you're going to make, that you're going to have the, you know, if you don't make your own gravy, you have a jar of gravy, that you have a can, you know, a can of cranberries, whatever it is you want for the meal. Make sure that, you know, you've have menu written out. Sure, you might forget something and then say, oh yeah, I got to put this on, fine. But, try to plan it that way and, do your shopping accordingly. And among my Thanksgiving lists, in addition to the list of, what people can do, tacked to my microwave, I also have like, have the shopping list, have the menu, because basically it's the same menu for 40 years. Doesn't change. I just wish somebody else would do this, like I need to pass this off to the next generation. So that you, so that I have a menu, a shopping list, the list of things people can do, and then a list of things that have to be done like 2 weeks out, 1 week out, 2 days out, because it's just a reminder, even if you don't do everything exactly on time, it's like, these are the things that have to be done. And, some of the things can be done quite early. Some of the things can't be done till last minute. So kind of pace yourself. That's, but definitely before, the first thing about cooking for a holiday is to make the menu so that you can do the shopping, so that you can prepare the food. And you should be trying to prepare as much ahead of time. Baked goods, for example, most of them, other than pies, most of them freeze well. So if you make it ahead and freeze it, you're ahead of the game here. And not everything's going to be baked like way ahead, but some things can be. I was corresponding with my sister about Thanksgiving, and she said the only thing that her family needs are my turkey cookies. But I make I make cinnamon cookies every year that are shaped like turkeys, and that's all people want. Did I make the cookies? So it doesn't really matter if I, mess up anything else, but I have to have those cookies. They have to be there. And I'm sure you all have probably something similar that, people look forward to and people want, and it's good that you don't have to be original for a holiday meal. There's nothing has, you don't have to be, very original at all. It just has to be, people expect what they've had every year for the past 40 years. And that's what you get from me, just what you had last, back in the 80s or the or the 90s or the whatever. Anyway, that's one of my things. Okay. The other reason to plan early is if you want to have it catered, or if you are rich enough to go take these people out for your dinner, you want to make those plans in advance, because some of these places, whether you're ordering food catered, I mean, they can only make a certain amount of food on a particular day. So, reservations in restaurants only so big at a certain time, so plan that, because you want to make those arrangements early on too. If that's what you're going to do, if you're going to be if catering it or going out. Okay. And then, okay. And this is kind of a before or after thing, I don't know, making some kind of a book or a file for your holiday recipes, so they're all in one place, and it makes it easy. I do find it easy to work from cards than from a having them on paper, but whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat. But it is good to have all the recipes for the items that you have on your menu for the holiday. Also, about one thing I didn't mention about food, and I should, if you're going someplace and there's something you want to bring, check with the hostess first, because it may not suit, she may have planned the exact same thing to have and she might be glad that you're going to do it, but she may really have done it or frozen it or what, it may not go with what she has, or she may already have a ton of stuff ordered from a caterer or something, so don't presume that everybody is going to love your Brussels sprouts that you have to put in her oven that has a turkey in it, like, so you might want to check it out before you show up with something. Usually there's something a hostess you can make a suggestion. She might say, oh, I don't need that, then, maybe she has something she can suggest. Maybe you just bring a couple bottles of wine or whatever. But don't go with food for a holiday dinner without checking with the hostess first. Whether it's just a matter of she doesn't have the oven space, or if it's a matter of, she already has 2 people bringing that same thing. So, okay. All right. Oh, and leftovers. Plan for leftovers. If you ever, get, take out Chinese or whatever,
Right.
save those takeout containers, stack them up. And then, like at the end of the day, because if you have so much food, and like for now, we were only 2 people at home, put them out and tell people, like fill them up. Take home what you want. Or, you can take home this, and this, but you can't touch that. That's staying here, but, because that way, at least you're not gonna, like refrigerator space is limited. And how much of this stuff are you going to wind up being able to put back in the fridge? So, if you are at all, if you're, anxious about that, make sure you take out containers for them to, bring stuff home.
Pat, also the dollar stores now sometimes have very inexpensive takeout containers. You can get a whole stack of them.
Yeah, I've gotten them in Costco where they're rectangular, they're, and
Yeah.
and they're, I use them for my cookies when I'm freezing cookies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but that definitely is something that you can buy them too. It's not a matter of just saving what you've,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to eat Chinese for a week, so you have containers. You just you might be able to find them in the store. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay. Socializing. I think that's a big problem. Well, not a problem. It's a nice problem to have, I guess. But, how many invitations can you take, or how many parties can you plan, or how many, step back and think like, what's realistic with everything else that you have in your life. So mostly we think about like family parties, family dinners, but sometimes there are a lot of people who like to have that party at Christmas. And if you're the one that had the party at Christmas, you always had these couples over for a 3-course dinner, you might want to think about having them for cocktails and hors d'oeuvres or something, like you might want to scale back if you're feeling like that it's getting to be too much, because if you feel like it's getting to be too much, it probably is getting to be too much. So think about going out or meeting somebody, at a restaurant, or having a less bountiful party than you usually have. Or think about parties. If you get a lot of party invitations, I'm kind of past that age where I'm getting, I'm inundated with party invitations. But if that's the case, then you might want to think about, declining some, because, making yourself crazy by going to a lot of different parties is maybe crazy. So, and then I want you to think about, because I never really gave this, a lot of thought. Except for, going to church or whatever, but community things like, going to synagogue, going to church, going, I for the first time now, I've lived in Crestwood since '75, and for the first time I went to the tree lighting at Veterans Plaza.
Really?
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm amazed that you didn't go before.
But I didn't. I never went. I always like to see the tree whenever I passed it by, but I had never gone for the tree lighting. So last year was the first year, and I don't think I'll miss it again ever. So it's like, so I would almost say look for things where you can feel like a little connected to the outside community. you know, like the luminaria that the church puts out, or, you know, sometimes it's menorah lighting, or, you know, like if there's something that, you know, that's going on, you know, like try to make it, you know, I know it's a busy time of year, but something that's a little outside, you know, family, that involves more community, I think, is kind of cool. So that's my words of wisdom. Okay, and then after the holidays, freeze the cakes and cookies that are left over because you can't eat all that in one shot. And then write thank you notes. You'll thrill people if you write a thank you note for something that you've received. And take out your lists and modify them. Think about what worked, what didn't work, write notes to yourself or whatever, and you know, and put them away for next year so you have a great start on the next year. Okay, so comments, questions, suggestions, because I'm going to write down any suggestion anybody has, I think. What do you guys do? Yes.
Well, Pat, I wanted to say that one year, I mean, for many years, we sat around the table, you know, with the fancy dishes and everything. And everybody had a spot. And then I changed it to buffet. When you said change things up. And they love it because, you know, some people don't like to sit as long as other people like to sit.
Right.
And so they kind of, you know, got up to get seconds. They went to sit with another group of people. It became a totally different holiday, and it was kind of more fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting because I know that a friend of ours who shall remain nameless, but who lives on your street, has she's got like 40 or 50 every Thanksgiving. I'm like, how could you possibly? But one of the things is that there's buffet tables, and you know.
Yeah, has to be. Yeah.
Eat where you want, you know. Some people eat in the basement. The basement's finished, eat in the basement. So
I think I'll go over to that person's house. It sounds like they won't notice I'm
they
there.
wouldn't notice, yeah. Another warm body. What the heck?
Yeah.
Okay. So anybody else have a good suggestion? I like that one.
I have been starting, you mentioned the tree lighting, and I've been keeping an eye out for things like up at Annunciation Church. They had this last year, and I went. It was the children's choir and adult choir, and it was just you know, it felt very Christmassy, and you know, it was very nice. A lot of times Asbury will have some kind of a musical thing, and then there's things like, you know, the train show at the botanical gardens, you know, and a lot of museums have special thing. And so the last couple of years I've just been looking for things like that. There's a wonderful tree lighting or illumination thing at Untermeyer.
Right. Yeah.
And things like that, they just feel so good, you know, and it really makes the season feel seasonal.
You know, it takes away, I think, from having to do,
Yes.
you know, like, we're also focused on what we've got to get done and all, you know, so to take a break and to do something where it's just this, you know, the feeling of the season is nice.
Yeah. And then sometimes we had, we've done it a couple of years. We don't do it every year, but at Thanksgiving, actually one of my daughters started it. She got this bare branch from outside. It, you know, had all kinds of stems. And we all cut out ahead of time squirrels and acorns and pumpkins and turkeys and things like that out of construction paper, punched a hole, and there was yarn you could hang. Everybody who came in the door was handed like a pen, and they had to write what they were thankful for.
Oh, nice.
And then we had them hang it on this crazy looking branch, but everybody loved it. And then different times during the day, everybody would go over and start reading what everybody was thankful for. And then afterwards, she actually made a scrapbook of them. And it's really, and then the next year we brought out the Thanksgiving scrapbook, and everybody started reading it again. It was really, you know, so we try and do think of things like that,
Yeah.
they're like activities.
Yeah, well, as we
Mhm.
say, the reason for the season, the reason for the holiday
Yeah.
is, like for Thanksgiving especially, it's to be thankful, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's that, and that's kind of enhances that, we're, like we're not just buzzing around saying, like the stuffing, can I get all that stuffing out of that turkey?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I had thought of something went flitting through my brain, which is gone now, but oh well. We actually we do have some time. That's good. Anybody else? I want to hear about other traditions. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
I don't know if you're gonna like this one, but what this is, just for my kids and my ex-husband. And it worked better when I was at the house, but I think it could work in the apartment too. So I would go around and I would see what they had that they either should get rid of or put away. Okay. Remember, I'm celebrating Hanukkah. So we have 8 days of presents, but we do it basically all in one night. And so I would repackage their own stuff,
Oh, okay.
or else I would go through albums and find photos of them when they were little kids,
Mhm.
all right, that they hadn't seen, for 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
And things that I maybe want them to have, but I'm not sure when to give it to them.
Uh-huh.
So I'll give them old photos, or maybe an old doll or something my mother gave them that for some reason I have.
Mhm.
And they're still talking about it,
Yeah.
I
Well,
like that idea.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that's kind of cool. One of the things I was going to talk about, and I remember I said an idea floated through my head, and was the idea of tradition. Like sometimes we do stuff, even if it's really not serving us well anymore, just because it was tradition. And John and I had said we would never get an artificial tree. Never going to happen, get an artificial tree. And last year we bought an artificial tree. And the thing is that it's a pretty good looking tree. And it fits together in sections, and it has the lights built in. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So,
That's
and these lights, first of all, they can go on solid white lights, or solid colored lights, or blinking white lights, or blinking colored lights. Okay. And it works with a remote control.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so for the first time ever in our whole married life, we're not crawling under the tree to, sweep up the needles or plug in the lights.
Good for you. Good
So
for you.
like, yeah. So the thing is, like, we were loving the tree, and now this year we have one son coming back from the West Coast, not for Christmas, but he's going to come home early in December for a little while. And we said, well, we can put up the tree. We can put it up early because it's not going to dry out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was our tradition that got junked, and it's turning out fine.
it got modified. It's a different tradition, and you can sit there.
It's the same old ornaments. It's the same old ornaments we've had for 50 years. But yeah, it is. So sometimes you be a little more flexible, But that was the first time. And John was like, and I don't have to we don't have to keep in a bucket of water in the garage until it's Christmas to eat or something. Or he doesn't have to haul it in, and he doesn't have to haul it out.
Right.
So,
Oh,
I don't
know.
But so it doesn't pay to be that rigid is my message for the evening, I guess.
I have a relative who, because she has a very large attic, fortunately, but she always did these big family parties. And one year she had an artificial tree, she decorated it, and it came out so perfectly that she felt she would never be so successful with that tree again. So she
put up with the ornaments.
A plastic thing, she covered it just as it was and put it in the attic. And then from then on, they would just bring this decorated tree down, just fix little things. she was so happy with it. And then she was so happy because she said, all we bring down is the tree. You don't have to worry about boxes and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. You know, it was just one of those things where she decorated it this year and it just was perfect.
Right.
Mhm.
And she said, that's it. I'm
Yeah.
keeping it that way.
Yeah.
There's something else we do with presents. It's just we buy little stuff and we put it in a grab bag.
Uh-huh.
And so no one ever knows what they're going to get. And sometimes it's really ridiculous items. Sometimes it's batteries, which you need, you know,
Right.
and then everybody, yeah, we can swap. And it's been amazingly successful, you know,
Yeah,
in
I like
terms
that
of
idea.
that.
Yeah.
Or the other thing I did, and again, you know, like this isn't something you can do with extended family. So I put in a bag of little pieces of paper of all the things I need help with. And then they draw it randomly out and they get to help me with what's on the paper.
You know, Beverly, you're kind of coming in and out. I didn't catch most of that.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Oh, okay. We'll try this. I think I'm having a little internet problems now.
That's better. You know, when you're closer. Yeah.
Better? Okay. So I get a pad of sticky notes, right? And I have a bag next to me. And I started thinking about, well, what do I need help with? Or what do the kids need help with? Or they're basically tasks. So this is in, you know, this not present things. And so like I'll have a note in there and it'll say, help with my website. Now there's only one daughter that's capable of doing it. So anyway, so I just put these things in a bag and, you know, we take turns the whole evening doing it. And my husband and I used to have a bag and I would have a bag and they laugh. I mean, some of them are really funny, you know, I'll make them funny or inside family jokes or traditions that we've had and or you know talk about old toys or something. But anyway, they draw it out and then they trade and I actually do get help with some things. So so one of my daughters said, well, I like the way you get us to do things you want us to do. And I thought, okay, that's not bad, you know.
Yeah.
So it, you know, because how many things are you supposed to buy? And the thing is that my kids have studio apartments in Manhattan.
Mhm.
So they're not looking for a lot of stuff.
Well, I feel that's the same way about myself. I mean, we have a big house, but you know, how long are we going to be in here? You know, like we have everything we need. I don't need more stuff, you know, like yeah, and it's hard when people don't have a lot of space. What are you going to get them? Yeah.
Yeah, or else
Yeah.
I'll throw in, you know, a good present like a concert or a play or something. So they never know whether it's going to be serious or not serious. So
So, Susan, do you have any tips for us?
I don't think so. You know, I've always had a real tree. And each year I say, should I have a tree at all? My trees are getting smaller, but now when you say that about an artificial tree, I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds very nice.
We always said no, but
I don't know. As long as I have help,
Mhm.
you know, John will go with me to buy the tree at Stu Leonard's, and if I can get somebody to help me put on the lights, I can do the ornaments, but putting on the lights is sometimes a challenge.
Yeah. Well, that was.
But I like Pat's tree. You get sparkle lights and colored lights and all kinds of.
I know.
you get to change
I've
and
never
the press of a button. Yeah.
I've never looked to buy an artificial tree, but some of my children have them and they're always very nice and you don't even know they're artificial.
Right. Yeah. With all the ornaments on, it's hard to tell. Right.
Right.
And I guess last year, I think we bought, I don't know if it made a big difference because I don't think it was so fragrant, but last year we bought a wreath to put on the inside of the door. So that we had the smell
Of the
the pine or whatever. Yeah. So,
Nice.
No, and I was talking about Thanksgiving. I always did Thanksgiving, but I haven't for the last couple of years. But when I did, my family does so much. I would always do the turkey, the potato, mashed potatoes, the gravy, and the stuffing.
yeah.
But dessert, I never had to worry at all about desserts. Somebody brought desserts. Somebody brought cornbread. Somebody would bring a couple of vegetables,
Yeah.
candied sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
Now we have a vegetarian, so somebody will bring a vegetarian dish.
Yeah.
And somebody brings, some cheese or something for hors d'oeuvre, but they all pitch right in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
My sister's bringing.
I don't have to cook any, those are just the things that I really need to cook.
Yeah. Well, my sister's bringing hors d'oeuvres. I told her nothing hot because, she's not going to get an oven. It's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
then, and my son, Brian usually brings Brussels sprouts that we
Yes,
roast,
probably have.
Yeah.
after the turkey comes out. So,
Yeah, I got my assignment too for my daughter. We're going to her house, but
Yeah.
we got to bring the shrimp and the cheeses and
Right.
and the
Oh, that cheap
crackers
stuff.
for the cheap stuff, and the crackers for the people who are gluten-free, and
Right.
it goes on a little bit more, the turkey for the people who don't like it this way or that way, so but I think
Or I got
that
a
Susan,
solution to that. Just get sick.
no, I wouldn't miss it. Come on. No, I think what Susan's saying is we each get our assignments, and
Yeah.
listen,
Yes.
and I'm also glad I don't have to cross the George Washington Bridge. We used to have relatives who did the holidays in Jersey, and
Yeah.
now it's here in Westchester, thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I think for all of us, I mean, we know that it's mostly it's totally really about family, like and maybe good friends being together, and so I think we have our priorities straight. But so I'm looking forward to everything except doing dishes.
Well, see, that's another thing. My family is really good on doing dishes. I
Yeah.
would have to say that after dinner, I can just sit down.
Mhm. Okay.
And
Well, we usually have. I mean, we usually have help. I help doing dishes and stuff. But they don't all get done because they're all out drying. And I'm not drying a dish like then I come down the next day and I'm doing more dishes. But yeah. So.
No, well, as you say, it's a
Good
family.
ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope it was helpful. I found it fun anyway.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
think
you
that
very
I wrote down some tips from you guys. So I shouldn't say that, you guys. I hate that. Why am I saying that? No.
That's okay.
From all of you. So
Thank you.
I really think we're kind of done. And no, I'm trying to think of what Z said next time is going to be.
January 11th, and we said that we're going to starting the year off
Let's start. Yeah.
good habits and planning your year and how to envisage a really organized year ahead.
Yeah, I wrote that down someplace, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks to everyone. I really appreciate you
Thank you.
coming.